Morning everybody, it's Pearl. I am going to show you how to make an elephant today. Well, actually a baby elephant. You'll see that I've actually pre-rolled my fondant already. I've conditioned this already previously, so I'm just going to go ahead and use it. I generally play with fondant mixed with CMC powder, and I like to use Solite to condition my hands, so that when I'm actually playing with the fondant, it doesn't stick to me. I do things, I work with figurines in volume, so I prefer to, rather than weigh out my pieces, I prefer to roll out a piece of fondant to the same thicknesses and then cut them with, with a cutter to get what I need. So I find that this way my proportions are relatively correct, and I find I have very little need to play with extra instruments like, say, the weighing scales, because I find them a little tedious. So I'm gonna go ahead and prepare some of my pieces that I'm gonna need to make my little elephant. You notice that I've cut out four big circles and two little ones at the moment. I might just see if I can get a little bit more. And I use that. Okay, I think that's probably enough for what I need. So what I've got is I have 4 pieces, 2 of which will be the body, 2 of which will be the head. And you see I have these 4 pieces, but I'm not going to actually use all 4 pieces for the legs of the elephant. He's going to be a sitting elephant, so I'm going to probably do half for his back legs, and I'll probably do 1 for each of his front. No, actually I'll do half as well for his two front legs, and I'll probably end up using half for either ear. Might find that it'll be even smaller, and that might be excess left over for the tail, so that might be a spare for now. I may or may not use it, so I'm just gonna go ahead and start with the body. Okay, I know in some of the other videos that I've done, I've started with the head, but with an elephant I like to create his body before I create his head, because I find that once you've actually done the body, the head and the trunk can kind of hide seams, that comes off, making an elephant's body. So I'll go ahead and massage this, and because you're making a fairly sizable creature, being an elephant and all, I find that often a bigger volume of fondant means it's a little harder for my hands to massage, so I use the table to help me do that. Okay, now once I've actually massaged this, and hopefully it'll come together the way I need it to come together. I have put quite a bit of CMC into this, so it is on a drier side than otherwise. So once I've got it to come together, I'm going to roll using the table to get my cone shape. This will probably be, it's not quite a teardrop, it might be like a spear, the spear's end. And the reason for this is because I'm gonna make him sit like this, which means if I use the table to help me push to flatten one side of him, he'll sit with a rounded back, which is what you wanna aim for. Okay, so again, just a sitting elephant. Okay, and that's what I have. I have his body, 2 legs, and you will hear me say teardrops a lot. Teardrops, one of those shapes that you can easily make a multitude of creatures with. And to do that, you roll a bowl, you bring your hands together at the bottom, like base like that. Okay, now elephant's leg is kind of flat, so using the table, I'm helping me push, so I'm kind of pushing it down and turning at the same time, which will give me a nice edge. It's not sharp, you don't need it to be sharp because it's, you know, it can be it can be rounded, but just slightly. Okay, I've got one leg there happening. Okay, and I'm gonna do the other leg. Okay, so I've got 2 legs there happening. Sometimes you'll find one bigger than the other, but that's okay. I'm going to sit them on either side for now. I'll do 2 more for these front legs before I stick them all together, because it's going to look like it's going to look like it's going to be one piece when he's sitting with his legs between himself. I want the front, I want that to stick, so I want them to stick together, I mean. So I'm gonna create the 2 legs. This is for the front of him. Okay, so now I've got his 2 legs here. Alright, they're going to be sitting next to each other, and so I want them to actually come together. So I have them sitting next to each other, and then I pull them together at the top here. Okay, you're going to notice that I'm going to use the table to help me thin this out at the end, at the top. Okay, it's got to thin a little so that when it sits up against the body of the elephant, it's not going to stick out too much. Okay, so there you are. I've got my 2 legs happening, and I'm going to go ahead and use some water. Now, the reason why I don't use sugar glue is because my pieces aren't completely dry. The only time you need to use sugar glue is when your pieces are like, you know, bone dry and you need it to stick to each other. But when fondant is fresh, it's quite sticky on its own, and you'll find a little bit of water goes a long way. Like what I had there was quite a bit of water. You don't actually need that much. Okay, now you can use a blade tool to help you just get that to blend into the existing piece a little. You know, so it just helps to secure it to that piece. Okay, now where I've gone and put this against the body, you see there's a slight curve. That's good because you want it to attach onto the body, and by doing that before, I know where it's gonna hug the body. So using that bit of glue, I'm gonna now stick this to the front of the legs and also to the back of the body, and using my blade tool, I'm helping it get attached by blending or trying to anyway blend the bit of fondant at the back into it. And we'll do the same on this side. Okay. And then once you're happy with that, you can go ahead and pick it up at the bottom and see how it's sort of stuck out. So you want to try and blend that so that it is completely attached. Okay, this will help it hold together. Okay. Okay, if you find your fondant's behaving too sticky and you can't blend it without it sticking to you, go ahead and get some Solite and rub that down. That will stop it from sticking to, you know, unnecessary things. It'll stick to itself, but it will also allow you to be able to blend this effortlessly without it sticking to you. Okay, so there's my body. I'll go ahead and sit this on the side, and we'll get working on his head. Now, an elephant's head, because it also includes the trunk, I find it's the proportion is almost equivalent to the size of the body. So if you allow the same volume for the body as you do for the head, then you will get a fairly cute proportion, I suppose, because elephants with big heads and little bodies are often very cute. So here I am trying my hardest to massage this. This is really quite dry, or drier than what I usually play with. But, you know, after you've massaged it for a while, it'll come back together. If you find you're struggling and your fondant is still cracking on you, I don't know if many of you know this, but Tylose is like a drying agent, so it would dry out the fondant for you. So essentially what you want to do is you want to introduce moisture back into the fondant if you want to bring it back to condition, to the right condition. So what you can do to bring it back to the right condition is to add a bit of water, and you do this by wetting your hands and then massaging the piece of fondant. Okay, and then you'll find yourself with a sticky ball of mess, which you would then put aside, wash your hands, dry your hands, and then come back to it and massage it, and it will be in a much better condition than when you first started off with the dry piece of fondant. Okay, so here I am trying my hardest to get this to work. Okay. Once you're happy with how well your ball of fondant has come together, I'd suggest we don't start with such a dry piece of fondant next time. But I'm already there. All right. What you can do now, see if you get cracks like this, it means that you haven't actually massaged it well, you know, to bring it back together. But for this purpose, just to get on with the tutorial, I'm going to hide this by making this the bottom of the head. And what we want to do is we want to roll ourselves out a trunk. So see how I've gone from a teardrop, and then I've gone and set my palm in the middle of the head and continue rolling. So I don't want to thin the end too much, and I want to keep the head a bit of a bowl. Okay, so I'm kind of pinching and shaping as well to pull this trunk out. Okay, now it's only a little baby elephant, so we don't need a massive trunk. But I want the trunk to curve a little. Can you see what's happened here? By continuously pressing on this, at this point, I am creating a rounded head with a trunk hanging off. Yeah, okay, this will mean that when I go to sit the elephant's head on, my trunk will sit comfortably to hide the top of those legs. Okay, now like with any creature, we look at the V. So if I were making the rabbit before and the lion before, I start with the nose and then I work my way out to where the eyes are going to be. So similarly, I know where the trunk is now, so I'm going to work my way in a V to where the eyes are going to be. So here's my trunk, so my eyes are going to be here and here. Yeah, with my bowl tool, I'll go ahead and give it a couple of eye sockets, only because it does make it look a little cute. Okay, when any creature really has a bit of an eye socket happening. Okay, and also it just helps give the creature a bit of some cheeks as well. Okay, now elephants being a bigger creature, they could have bigger eyes. It's entirely up to you what look you want to give it. So you can get them in different sizes. You could get them, you know, as big as 10s and 8s, you know, as small as 6s, and then you go down to 4s, which is probably all I'm gonna need today. I'm gonna try and see if I can pick out the biggest of the bits of 4s, because they don't always come even sized. So I'm just gonna go ahead and pick up the biggest two bits of sugar pearls that I can find. I will do, see, by pre-holing your fondant, you're able to then push your sugar pearls or anything into the fondant without creating like without damaging or creating further cracks or indents in the rest of the fondant. It also helps your piece to actually stay where it's supposed to stay. Okay, so with that, I'm setting it in there and there. Using my blade tool, I help to push that into place. Okay. Now, before, where I was sitting the head on to figure out where I was going to put the elephant's head, I would have inevitably made a little dent in the base of his head. So that kind of helps me be able to deepen that dent so that there's actually a place for the head to sit, or where the body is going to be cradled within a cavity. Okay, and this will help your body come in, your body and your head, how it'll actually come together or be joined together as seamlessly as possible. So sorry, I'm just going to push that eye back into place, because by creating that cavity, it's just volume. You push something and something else gets pushed out, right? So there is my head on the body. To help it stay in place, I get a toothpick. It's always good to measure it up against the figurine to see where it's going to end up. So I know my toothpick is shorter than where the top of the head is, so I run very little risk. There's very little risk to the toothpick coming through the top of the head of the elephant. You notice that I am actually twisting as I put the toothpick into the body, and the reason for this is just so that you don't cause the whole body to get squished, because if you just shove a toothpick straight in, it will inevitably push whatever fondant that gets caught in the toothpick downward, and then the whole body will get squished. Now, where the head is meets the body, I find I just have to poke it where I need it to go and sit it in place. Now I know my trunk is going to sit up against the body as well, so I'll go ahead and actually apply a fair bit of water to this so that it will all stick. Okay, now I'm going to create something for the elephant to hold. So I just want the baby to look a little inquisitive. So I've got his head tilted to the side a little. I'm going to show you a little trick in a minute. Okay. Okay, if you find bits of fondant starting to stick to you, a bit of solite will help. Just to stop the fondant from sticking to your fingers. So here's his ears that I'm going to create. Again, teardrops. I love teardrops. Can you tell? I'll go ahead and pinch. So pinching, as in I'm just basically just pressing it down. I'm pressing it down so that I can actually widen that or enlarge that teardrop into a bit of a flat teardrop. I find you can put another circle of a different color in there if you want to, but for this purpose I'm just going to do that. And you can have his ears doing this, you can have his ears doing this. It's entirely how you want to place it to give it the look that you want it to look. Okay, I'll go ahead and prepare the other side as well, because sometimes it's better to put two ears up at the same time so that when you're actually attaching it, it just makes, you know, that little bit of sense. Like it actually comes together a bit better that way. You know that they're meant to sit next to each other. So there I am, putting some sunlight into my fingers, and sometimes it helps with making your fondant that little bit smoother as well to massage, so it can help. I generally find water is a better trick to use to bring fondant back together. I find sunlight tends to, because of its oil properties, can sometimes cause it to split rather than come together. So water is still your best friend when it comes to playing with fondant. Okay, so here's my other ear, and no two ears are the same, so don't be too concerned about making them look exactly the same. They don't have to be. So here's my two ears, and I can have them sing like this, I can have them sing like this. It looks kind of funny, doesn't it? To do this, because he'll look like a little, like Mickey Mouse. I'll probably put his, I'll put his ears hanging down a little like that. Okay, so if I know where I'm sitting his ears, I can go ahead and wet this. Okay, wet just one corner, just the corner where you know it's gonna be attached to the back of the elephant's head. Okay, that water as well is gonna help stick it. And again, with the blade tool, you'll want to blend that in a little, just so that you know it's caught on and will stay in place. Okay. And this is the other side. So the head's a little bit soft, so when I went to hold it before, I've kind of made it a little dent to it. So if you find it happening, just give it a rub, you know, try and deepen the socket. Okay, there's my sitting elephant. I want him looking a little bit more curious, so I'm going to tilt his head a little more to the side. Right, to finish him off, I'm probably going to give him a little bit of hair and a tail. So I'm actually just going to cut a small piece of fondant that I'm going to need for the tail to begin with. Because you'll find that you won't need a very long tail, so I'll have excess left over from this little piece to give him some hair. Okay. Tail. I don't know if you've seen an elephant's tail. An elephant's tail has a little bob at the end, so I start with creating myself a small, what looks like a start of a teardrop, and then pinching it between your fingers right there. I'm able to roll it to give me that. Can you see what I've done there? So by rolling this and making this thinner, I gives myself an elephant's tail. Okay, I don't need a lot of it, so I'll go ahead and cut it there on the back of him. You know, I'll be sitting that tail right up against there and then curving it, so I know that I'm going to sit my tail there, and I will probably have it finished about there. So that kind of helps, you know, by drawing on with a bit of water, it kind of helps you be able to guide that tail into position. Okay, and don't forget to right, and I'll go ahead and do that. Sometimes the smallest bit of detail can bring the creature together. So because I want to put some hair up the top of his head, I want to create a little dent so that I have something to sit these bits of hair into. So I'm just going to go ahead and make, you know, maybe 3 teardrops in different sizes. Okay, and then by wetting the top of this, I'm able to then press this into the cavity there and finish it off like that. Got my little elephant happening. Okay. Before I was talking about detailing, you can go ahead and detail the little elephant. You can give him a couple of creases in his trunk. Creases in his legs. Okay, now to finish him, I said I wanted him to be holding something, so I'm going to show you a neat trick. This is how you make a 3D puffy heart. Okay, ball of fondant, teardrop. Okay, using your knife, the back of the knife, you're gonna score and press into the top of that teardrop, back to front. Okay, using your blade tool, and just your hands as well, you can do that if you wanted to. I'm just going to deepen that dent, and then using my fingers, I'm just going to pull open the top two. Can you see? So by pressing down into there and there, go ahead and deepen that heart, rounding off the top two ends, and you've given yourself a puffy heart, to which now I can attach to the elephant. Okay, by making this wet. Okay, and just to clean him up a little bit more, I'm gonna give him a couple of eyebrows using the pen. Following where I've given him eye sockets, I'm able to then draw his eyebrows where they need to be or where they should be. Okay. So there we have it. A little baby elephant holding a heart. I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you everybody for tuning in. I'll catch you next time. Bye.